So once again, I'm your host, Kenneth Tiberius Clark. We're halfway through the year. We're going into June. May's over, right? So we're halfway through our 2022 takeover. I've had a slew of great guests for you guys, but I feel like I keep jumping and we keep diving deeper down a rabbit hole. We could always stay surface level and just go over, regular sports, football, baseball, right? Basketball, lacrosse, hockey, all that stuff, right? But I feel like there's so many different aspects to sports that it would be a mortal sin to not explore them all. Talk to us about your journey thus far. Did you just wake up and you had an epiphany? You was like, I got it. I'm going to be a journalist.
Well, my friends always called me a know-it-all my whole life. They've been telling me to start a podcast for the longest time. So, But then my junior year, I say, I'm a do the sport podcast thing. Had no idea what it was. Didn't listen to anybody. Just said, I just know. I somewhat thought I knew what it was. I posted on my Snapchat. My co-host Malcolm, who I know only because he's two of my friends' roommate. He called me like, hey, I'm trying to start a sports podcast too. There's a studio at my undergrad, Radford University in Virginia. And he knew that he took a class and he knows a teacher that works it. We could easily do the podcast there. So then we had went a week or two afterwards. We met the teacher. He showed us how it worked. And then 2 days later, we went into the studio. Our first episode, which was way too long. We had 10 topics. I don't know who we thought we were. That's how we started in our show in person. So really, around the same time I got the podcast, I was taking a news writing class. It just happened to all kind of.
It just fell in place.
Yeah, it all just kind of fell in place like that.
The first one's obvious. A game managing quarterback protects the football. He minimizes mistakes. But I think what tends to get lost when we hear, he minimizes mistakes, and we shrug at it. We make it seem like it's something similar or something minute. I think what gets lost in it is the football IQ and the situational awareness that these guys have to have just to be able to play the game at the most average level. I argue with friends all the time about this. I don't think they understand how difficult the quarterback position really is. I think it's the most difficult position in sports because there's so many cerebral aspects to it. So, there are quarterbacks that watch so much film, they know when a defense is in cover 1 or cover 3. Right. And how they like to disguise their looks. They understand how to find blitzers, how to identify blitzers and adjust their protections.
I never thought that Andrew Wiggins was a bad player. I just thought that maybe they had false expectations of what they thought he should be. They eventually trade him and then he goes to the Warriors. Now, I like what the Warriors did because they didn't ask a lot from him. They gave him a defined role. And what do we know about the Warriors? They're a winning organization, winning franchise. They weren't asking Andrew Wiggins to come in there and give him 30 points a game. They said, we're going to decrease your offensive workload and we're going to increase your defensive responsibilities, right? It worked out. He actually started to mature, and right now he's one of the best wing defenders in the NBA.
The NBA right now has a humongous overseas problem, and not in the way that you would think they're not getting enough overseas players. No, they're getting enough. But for the first time in league history, you can honestly say this, that the top 3 or 4 players in the NBA right now are all overseas players. Jokic, Giannis, Luka, Embiid. 5 is arguable. Maybe it's a Kevin Durant one day or a Steph Curry the next day, right? It's a toss-up. It depends on what day of the week it is. But the top 3 or 4 players are overseas players. And I want you to really think about this. America has it's always prided itself on being the best basketball nation in the world. And now they're no longer even the best in their own league.
So every region has their own team. So like you said, you have your Miami Heat, you'll have your Clippers, you'll have your Knicks, you'll have all these academies. So for example, your Manchester United, your Manchester City. So that's what you want to be. You want to be below academy. And the good thing about England and that kind of system is it doesn't cost your parents any money. If you're good enough, they're gonna fund you. Obviously, if you're good enough for everything, they're gonna fund everything because they just want the best talent that's around. Whether you come from a wealthier area, poorer area, a middle class area, they just want the best talent that they can have,
Oh, okay.
So more people get more opportunity. Just give everyone a fairer chance just to make it as a obviously professional soccer player.